How to manage an account for re-raising. Okay, so we'll tackle some of the questions that you just brought up. If anyone is talking, please stop. Thank you. So again, we're going to go straight to what our customers say. Strategy should come from what your customers are telling you to improve, or it can, let's say. So this, as you saw, was our NPS. People are happy with our product when they're happy with us, as well as they're happy with the professionals of ISEC and the way we communicate with them. And our customers say we need to improve our process, which we just talked about, but also the communication with ISEC, which especially for the detractors is a major issue. So that's what they say. I don't know if this is one I didn't show you last time. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. In the same surveys, when we asked companies, would you want to take another intern through ISEC Global Internship Program, over 70% said they probably or definitely would take another intern. So I mean, imagine that. Like a significant percent are either passive or detractors of ISEC, and still more than 2/3 of them would take another intern through ISEC, which I think tells you two things. One, the product is valuable to them. If they can get good talent through ISEC that solves their problems and ISEC deals with them professionally, they want it. It also tells you that there's a lot of TNs we're leaving in the world, right? That like we're not raising that we should be. Because our actual partner retention rate is about 30%, but like 70% say they probably or definitely would. Not even maybe, probably or definitely would. Yeah. Just said that. Cool. Yeah, so this is some of the, what we did is we looked into the surveys and we interviewed some of our customers at the CLO Summit. And this is some of the things they were saying. ISEC has to use communication channels more actively. Company is paying fee to ISEC for get counseling, and ISEC has to give more quality service for this fee. Communication should be very fast. It should result in quick output. We need one person we can talk to who will respond to our problems. It's very obvious. I mean, like, of course, a company would want one person to talk to that would solve their problems. That's pretty difficult for ISEC to do, given the fact that we're ISEC and we have this turnover constantly and everything like that. So maybe we can't meet that demand. Question is, how can we do our best to meet it, right? Or how can we meet a standard that's acceptable for a company where they can say, okay, I understand that this is what ISEC is about, so I'm willing to deal with that, my account is still being managed responsibly. So let's see. I was gonna have you guys like stand up and like move around for this, but I don't want to anymore. So you can just do on your piece of paper. Just tell me if these things, or just write for yourself if these things apply to you. So yeah, for every account, you have one person who is clearly the account manager. Both the company and the person know this. So for whom is this true? Every one of their accounts has a person responsible, and the company knows it, and the person knows it. Great, great, very cool. For every account, you have a record of your history with the partner, their past satisfaction, and their long-term needs. So there's like a profile somewhere that, let's say your account manager were to die or leave ISEC, you'd know what to do with that company or have some record of it. So how many do you have that?
Yeah, we use Salesforce.
So it has something.
Yeah, but it just started up.
Cool.
It was implemented in May, so...
Okay, I mean, I'm not blaming you. It's okay.
So much is missing.
It's okay. So slightly less of you. Someone from your LC meets with every one of your customers. Sorry, it says every 6 months. It's supposed to say every 3 months. Someone from your LC meets with every one of your customers every 3 months. Huh? It's more? Yeah, okay. So 3 months or more, let's say. Yeah, okay. So some of you, and you have goals for re-raising, including goals for each of your accounts. So you have in your term, you want to re-raise this many TNs, and each one of your accounts, you want to re-raise this many TNs from. All right? Cool. Very cool. So that's what I would say you need to be able to re-raise accounts. Like that's the standard. Like if you don't have that, those need to be put in place immediately. Then you can improve the way you do those things, right? So for example, if you have one person responsible for everything, you can improve the way you teach them, coach them, track them, things like that. But if there's not a person responsible, you can't go anywhere. Like, okay, we need to re-raise that account. No one's going to do it. All right. Well, it's a good idea. You know, I mean, you need a person responsible for it. So yeah, quite simply, every account has to have one manager every 6-month period. So what that means is that account manager is responsible for the account for at least 6 months. Okay? So this is where we can make that compromise with the company. A company wants, for as long as I work with ISEC, there's one person I talk to. Sorry, company, not possible. We would love to. We just can't because of our way our organization works. What we can promise you is one person who will be responsible for your account, and they'll be responsible for 6 months. And then we have this process to transition them, and then a new person will be responsible for the next 6 months and for the next 6 months. But you'll always know who it is, and they'll always be responsible for about 6 months, right? That's the compromise that we think we can strike with companies. Yeah, you need a record in your CRM of these kinds of things so that let's say your account manager does really bad transition, which I don't know, what percent of transitions in ISEC are good? Probably not a very high percent. At least we all seem to think that our transition was bad, so I don't know. My transition wasn't bad. My transition was really good. My predecessor was awesome. She's Chinese and she'll hurt me if I don't say that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, and you need a plan for re-raising the account and goals for re-raising the account. So about this account manager role, we're going to go into some details on this account manager role. Okay. So that person should manage the matching, the delivery, and the management of the account from the contract signing forward. So that's going to get to your question in just a minute, right? So from the contract signing, at the contract signing, they're there, and they manage the account from there for at least 6 months. So when people even join this team, it's like a minimum expectation, like, so you're here for 6 months, right? Maybe it's totally possible for you to do, but embrace the challenge. Also, one small thing, if you're dealing with a very high-scale account, the delivery aspect, which is the EP arriving and handling all the logistics, might be outsourced to a delivery team. But that's if you're dealing with like a high-scale iGIP. I don't know your guys' individual numbers if that would apply to you guys, but I don't think that would apply unless you're receiving like more than a few trainees every month. You know, if you're receiving like multiple trainees every month, then maybe you need a separate team just handling the logistics of reception and stuff like that, because you need to be able to focus on the company customer as well. And if you're always doing logistics stuff for the EP, you can't be managing the account very well. The account manager is responsible for firefighting, checking in, quarterly meetings, at least every 3 months, in person, and transitioning the next account manager. That's like their minimum responsibilities. And their goals are always these things. Their main goal is always re-raising. Why do we have an account manager? To re-raise, right? Not just to deliver, to re-raise. To get referrals, so if you're managing an account, and you're doing a good job, getting more customers as a result of that. When we say promoters, what is the point of having promoters? The point of having promoters is that they promote you so that you get more customers, so we bring more people into ISEC, right? And customer satisfaction as well, right? But the point of customer satisfaction is to have promoters, to have more customers, to give more experiences to young people, right? So that's why re-raising is always the first priority. So about this account manager, the role, 6 months. Average of 5 hours per account per week is what we estimate. 2 to 3 accounts per person, as I said. And their measure of success, as I said, number of re-raised accounts, upscaled accounts, referrals. So, yeah, these are parts of their JD. They should look over the intern's results, basically to make sure that the product is being successful for the company, right? In the end, the company wanted to achieve something through the internship, so they should have their eye on that to see if that's happening, and if it's not happening, be able to like push the intern a little bit or give the company advice on how to manage the intern better or anything like that. Evaluate the intern's development. That's what the intern is supposed to get out of it. Evaluate the relationship between ISEC and the company. If the relationship, every relationship can be better, so to always make sure that the relationship is being improved. And it's fine to talk about that with the company, right? It's fine to talk about how have you enjoyed working with ISEC? What are things we could have done better? Okay, for us it would have been better if we had had this process worked out, so sorry about that, but let's do this next time. And they can evaluate the survey response from the company. So responsibilities. This is broken down into detail for you guys. They should track the history of every account, transition knowledge and the relationship to their successor, including a meeting which transitions the account. So they have a meeting with the company and the new account manager where they transition the account in that meeting. They track every customer interaction through the CRM that you have. They set a detailed timeline for each account in coordination with you or your LC VP iGIP. And they should understand the customer, the account manager, right? It's not just delivering the account. They should really understand the customer. What do they care about? What's their purpose? And why are they working with ISEC? They should ensure frequent communication with all the accounts, which means regular meetings and check-ins with the company. We'll get into a schedule, soon I'll show you a schedule for when you should check in and have meetings with the company. They should constantly ensure the clarity of the JQ. So the JQ is your window into what the company wants, right? And they need to constantly have their eye on if that JQ is still reflecting what the company wants, if there's more trainees to be added, if their needs have changed, anything like that. And guiding the customer through the selection process and the legal process, right? So that especially deals with your visa process, depending on how complex it is or how much it requires from the company. The company is working with ISEC largely because they don't want to deal with this process on their own, right? That's one of the parts of our value proposition, let's say, is we make it easy for them to get international talent. So you need to make it easy for them through the process. If you give them a form and they don't know how to fill it out or something, then you're not really helping them. Maintain communication with the TN taker. Answer questions within 48 hours max. I don't know if you guys have stricter timelines. I wouldn't make it any less strict than that. Like 48 max. 24 is better. There's a huge thing about the satisfaction of people based on response time. So if you can respond to someone's request within like 10 minutes, it's like you're God, right? An hour, they're really, really happy. A day is like expected. Anything more than that is like, well, I'm not mad at you, but like, you know. And if it's more than 2 days, it's like, you suck. Yeah? But like 10 minutes is like the golden thing, like, wow, you're awesome. And an hour is like, you're very responsible. More than that, okay, you're good. So you should do it within 10 minutes. Yeah, and you should, and this person should prepare like a closing report to make sure that for every internship they know, like the ISEC has a memory of what should we improve about this, what could we have done better. So some important information about this. They're responsible for the matching process as well. As I said earlier, if the account has like more than 10 TNs, then this should maybe be a 1-year role, if possible, if it's possible, and it should, and that person, it should be the only account they're responsible for. Yeah, this is what an account manager needs to know. The matching process, how to serve a customer, and how to do sales, because they're also going to be responsible for the re-raising, right? So they need to know the sales process as well. So if you're a member, you're like, or you want to recruit a member for this, what they can get out of this is they can really understand a company better, right? And they can understand, I think, the corporate world much better. What do companies care about? What are the reasons they make decisions the way they do? Who are the people to talk to? What role do values play in decision-making in companies? Things like that. Yeah, and they learn a lot about business from the role. And they can develop professionally. There you go. So I said we would talk about this schedule of like how to do meetings and check-ins, right? So this is like a little bit weird looking, but it makes sense once it's explained. So each of these green circles is a physical meeting with the company. Each of the blue is like a check-in over email or phone, right? So you have different meetings that we recommend are in person. One is the contract signing. Another is when they select the EP. A third is the EP's first day at work. And after that, you have evaluation meetings every 3 months, minimum every 3 months. So it can be more often than that, but it shouldn't be less often than that. And I think this should also be based on what the company wants, right? So if the company says they want to meet with you every month, I mean, if they want us to meet with you like every week in person, then probably you have to scale it back and be like, whoa. But yeah, they're too clingy or something, right? So what happens in each of these meetings? So for the kickoff meeting, this is the people you meet. For every single one, there's the participants and like your participant, what's important to get out of the meeting, and then the agenda for the meeting. That's how these slides work, okay? So these are the people you need. In the meeting, you should introduce the account manager, right? I brought this person. They're going to manage your account from here. You complete the JQ. There's a new JQ you can download from isec.net, developed from the CLO Summit. It's cool. It's very short. It's attractive. You should use it. Set expectation, all the things in the matching process I said, right? So in step 1 at the contract signing, you have to do this, right? Yeah, clarify the desired number of EPs in the shortlist, set expectations about the visa, as I said, and agree on a timeline for the selection, including dates, meeting times, everything. From the first meeting, you want to have all that clear. In the check-ins, so these can be by phone or by email, it's just the account manager and the company contact. Yeah, it should be customized according to what the company wants and where you are on the timeline. And these are suggested times to have those check-ins. So yeah, this is like when you're doing a check-in or calling a company, you should have the JQ on hand just to make sure like you know exactly what you're talking about. You should like clarify with the company where you are in the process. So this is what we're up to now, and be offering them like guidance on the process as well as like if they're selecting an EP or something from a certain country, like what the process is for that specific country, so that they're aware. Yeah, and you should schedule this thing if it's not already scheduled, but hopefully it's already scheduled. The selection meeting. These are the people. What's important is that you remind them to sign all the documents in time. What should happen? Collect the acceptance note. Ensure that any documents for the intern's visa are properly signed. Make sure the company's aware of the next procedures and align the next steps for getting the EP there. Here's the preparation check-in. So this should be 1 to 2 weeks before the realization. And what you want to do is you want to go over the procedure for the trainee's arrival. So you should make basically an agenda for the trainee's first day. And this is again, the first day someone has in anything is really important, right? So how the trainee reacts to their first day at work, how the employees at the workplace accept them, things like that is really, really important. So you want to make sure that it's done very well. So you should set expectations with the company about any cultural differences, which, like, I don't know, those of you who've realized TNs, like, you've probably seen a lot of that, where there's minor cultural differences that if the company is not aware of them, they, like, really overreact or something, and then you have to firefight problems. Yeah, and on this first day, the EP should get everything about, like, what is the company, how is it structured, who are the people they should be working with, like, where can they do this, and what time do they have to be there, what time is the earliest they can go home, how does vacation work, anything like that, right? How does their salary work, anything. Yeah, you should tell them exactly what ISEC will be providing for the trainee, make sure the time of the trainee's arrival is clear, etc. Then you have the first day at work. So this is where they can set expectations towards each other. So you can say, this is what the company is responsible for, this is what ISEC is going to do from here on, and this is what the EP needs to do from here on as part of their JD. And you clarify next steps. And you do all the things that I talked about to make sure that, like, the first day at work is a successful one. During the internship, you can have these check-ins. You check in with the company and the EP at the same time. This is just the kind of stuff you want to know. How's the intern doing? How's the performance? Have there been any issues? And it's good for you to check in on this, because often the company will only come to you once an issue is, like, pretty bad, or sometimes if they've already made a decision what to do, right? So, like, a company calls you and they're like, yeah, so we're thinking of firing the person, so we wanted to let you know, right? It's like, whoa, like, then you try to fix it, but maybe it's too late, you know? But if you had just checked in, maybe you would have seen something coming earlier. They would have said, yeah, we're having this problem, but we're going to try to sort it out. Say, okay, well, let me help you sort it out. Next steps, schedule the next meetings. This is basically everything. You always have to do these in a meeting, right? Schedule the next steps, like, here's what the next steps are, and then schedule a time to get it done. So then you have these quarterly reviews after a TN is realized. And there's like different purposes of each quarterly review. So you have a meeting every 3 months. And, like, just a standard one has these parts to it. ISEC reports on the last 3 months. So what has ISEC done to receive the intern, including EP lead, like, explain to them that this is what we're doing for the intern. Companies, actually, in the feedback surveys, we saw a lot of companies, they don't like if they see that ISEC isn't doing things with the intern, and they really do like it if they see ISEC is taking care of the intern. So, for example, we've seen in the surveys, even if the company thinks that ISEC isn't doing a good job with their account, but they see that ISEC is taking care of the intern well, that means something to the company, right? Because they see ISEC is capable of doing things, they just wish ISEC would take care of them more, right? But also, if they see that we're not taking care of the intern, to a company, that's like a huge sign of irresponsibility, right? And of course, that's why we're doing the experience in the first place, is for the intern's experience. The company can report on how they've enjoyed working with ISEC and how the internship is going. What you should do in this meeting is ask for feedback, ask for future needs, and referrals or endorsements. Obviously, you'll only ask for this if things are going okay, right? Yeah. But again, like, the goal is always re-raising referrals and customer satisfaction. So the feedback you should get, or when you're asking for things, it should be related to that. You want to see how you can re-raise the account, what are their future needs, what referrals can you get, and are they satisfied? Do they have feedback that you need to address? And of course, you should review the JQ. So this is what you said you needed. Is this still what your needs are? Do you need other things? Do you need more trainees? Any of those things. Again, your JQ is like your Wikipedia page of the company, you know? So it should be up to date with what the company wants and everything. Then you have your account transition meeting. So this meeting takes place 3 months after the realization. A really important thing, actually, this should be added to the participants. I don't know why it's not there. Is that ideally you bring the next account manager to this meeting. So, for example, you have a new member that's in the account management team. Their pipeline to be the account manager 3 months from now. You should bring them to this meeting if possible. I know it's like a very ideal world, right? So it won't always work out this way, but ideally that's what you do. So that then when they come to the account transition meeting, they're not a stranger, right? So yeah, this is the person you met with 3 months ago. They're going to be handling your account from now on, as we told you from the beginning. Now let's transition this account. So you have all of these people there. Yeah, and as this says, like, it should always be clear to the company. Yeah, so this is my term as your account manager, and here's the next person's term as account manager, and we're going to transition them together. So what happens in the transition meeting? Obviously, you present the new account manager, like, provide context, make sure that's clear, align, this is when the company wants to be contacted, this is how they like to be contacted, all those things. Same things as before, we report on the last 3 months, they report on the last 3 months, we ask for feedback, potential future needs and referrals, and we review the JQ. The only difference is this person is there to get all of the information. So ideally, they understand the company, as you were saying, right? Because they've been to 2 meetings, ideally, 2 meetings now, and they've twice talked about these things and understood what the customer cares about. And then there's like, let's say you've been working with the company for a year and you have an annual review. So this is more of a zoom out kind of meeting, and let's review ISEC's overall partnership with you, your organization's overall like goals, and whether working with ISEC makes sense, whether we should work together more, how we can strengthen the partnership, stuff like that. So this is where we might enter more into conversations about values and things like that than we would in the other meetings, right? The other meetings would be more about satisfaction. This might be more around goals, values, partnership, stuff like that. So what happens? Yeah, I mean, we've worked together for a year, so let's get feedback on our partnership. Ask if they have future needs. See where we can fit in over the long term. What are you doing that ISEC might be able to help you with in 1 year, in 2 years, etc. So that the company starts thinking of ISEC not as like a vendor that they used for that thing and for that thing, but anytime we need something, ISEC is here to help us with all of these things, right? So ISEC just becomes a resource for them that's always in their mind of resources they can use. Ask for referrals and endorsements. Review and revise the JQ. If it this is a key thing here. Like the JQ again is the profile of the company. You've been together for a year, so do you need to change that? After the internship is done, let's say it was a 1-year internship, you should be able to get feedback from the company. So what you'll want to do, the process we recommend for this, is to check in with them, give them a survey, explain to them why it's relevant. Yeah, like if they don't want to fill in a survey, just, then fill it out with them or whatever. Yeah, get the company to fill out the survey. The point is not that you have the survey and that's it. The point is you take the survey to a meeting where you can review it, right? So you want to review the feedback of the company with them. So you look over the intern's results, you evaluate the intern's development, you evaluate the relationship, and you set future learning points for a better experience, all based on what the feedback they gave you was. So you want to understand more deeply. They said they didn't like this, but what exactly was the problem there? What exactly does this customer care about? And that's the purpose of getting the feedback. It's not just to get the feedback and calculate like your NPS score, but more like with this customer, what do we need to do differently, which you can then firm up in this. So to recap things about account management for re-raising, every account should have one account manager for a 6-month period. A series of meetings on a regular schedule should ensure that communication is constant and that the customer's needs are met and the account transition is very smooth. And every account should be managed towards re-raises, referrals, and customer satisfaction. So, I have a question for you guys. What do you need to change, based on any of this or any ideas this gave you, what do you think you need to change to have effective account management in your LC? What needs to change? Yes?
The problem with RLC is that a lot of information gets lost during transition. There are a lot of companies that have no idea that they're not a partner anymore, because having taken one TM 2 years ago doesn't mean you're still a partner. And there's a lot of time that when you cold calling that the company is like, oh yes, but you had a meeting with us, and then it's still not to be found in Salesforce or whatever went down in that meeting. So what we'll have to change is information. That's really important.
Yeah. So ideally, you can use the JQ as like your. I mean, you use your CRM, and then your JQ is like the center of all information, and you should even be able to like scan your JQ and upload it to your CRM. Use Podio or Salesforce. Yeah. So definitely you can do that with Salesforce, right? Or your MC should. I don't know if your TN form or JQ is already aligned with the system on Salesforce, like if it asks the same kinds of questions and stuff. But ideally, it would be. So that from the from your JQ, like sales meeting, you can put the information into Salesforce where it's recorded forever, and you can raise the TN, and everything's done, right? Anything else people see they need to change to have effective account management in their LC? Yes?
One part of the problem that we did, well, one part of the solution for this problem of information flow is we actually came up with the idea within our LC of knowledge Bible, meaning that we actually, every VP, but especially the RICX VP, they come up with, throughout the year, all the information that they gained with their experience, they bundle this in a knowledge Bible that they will present to their successor, meaning that everything that we learned this year about also about the customer relations, the management of the accounts, etc., and the JQs, etc., this is all information that we will bundle and give to our successors. So So that is also one way of coping with that problem. Not well. Let's say we use CRM, we use CRM
Yeah.
and Salesforce, but irrespective to that, we use also
Yeah, I think that's great. And I've seen that before. A key to something like that, if you guys want to have like one place where all of this information is that's not virtual, like if you want to have like a book, let's say, the key to that is you don't want it to be 150 pages. Because it easily can be, because people, when they know that they're supposed to put information, their instinct is, I'm going to put as much information as possible because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But then it's not useful for anyone because no one's ever going to read it all, right? So it's about putting the most necessary information very, very concisely, for which I would honestly just say you should just use your JQ. If your JQ doesn't have the information that someone would need to understand the account and re-raise it, then you should improve your JQ. But if you have for every one of your customers and every customer you've ever met, here's the JQ basically, then ideally that's enough information at least to get started. And then maybe an additional page of notes on like what that customer's personality is, how they like to be contacted, anything like that. Other question or other things you want to change to improve account management? Yes?
Yeah, I think my member tracking is actually one of my main focus points for the upcoming months. Since now it's often not done.
Yeah.
The magic thing is too long, or they don't do customer relationship management or anything. And the main point is they don't know how to or when to, or they forget it, or they priorities. I feel like it's my job as a VP to keep track of it.
Yeah, so exactly. So you'd want to use the same tracker as you use for your matching process. You can have extended to the re-raising transition meetings and all that, and be able to see for every account, are we on track with our process?
Yeah.
And
I am keeping track of my accounts. I have exactly the list you just sketched. I made up a few months ago for all my TNs, and that's fine. That's working fine. But the thing is, I don't see enough process in it, and I don't see enough process, and I don't know what to expect because I'm not keeping track of my members. So when I'm doing that, then I can know what to expect in the schedule.
okay. Other things people want to do to improve account management?
So I think make it there's like this scheme. I think we have like a booklet for it, for all the steps you should go through. But it's indeed so much pages that I wonder if everyone read like every single step, and every time I'm referring to it, it's still make it maybe more obvious, like with a large thing on the wall or something that everyone knows. Oh hey, how are you doing with that company?
It's an interesting point you bring up. So what I took from that was like we have this resource, but I don't know if people would use it. Maybe we should change it dramatically, like put something visual on the wall, and then that would get people's attention.
Yeah.
So the sort of like sad and very, very frustrating thing about trying to teach people things is that you always need to do something new and different for them to learn it, right? So you put something big and visual on the wall, and that would work the first time.
Yeah.
And then they would start ignoring it. It would just become part of the wall, right? That's how human beings are. It's really weird, right? So then you need to create something new and exciting, right? And then eventually you end up back at a book, probably. You know? Yeah, I released a book for you guys. Wow, it's a book, you know, like.
Yeah.
So it's just part of.
Extra to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just part of like it's a weird part of leading people, I guess. Is you always have to sort of change things to make people pay attention to them. I don't know if you guys have done this. For example, with my MC team, I would change the way I tracked. Like not significantly. I would just like move columns around, change colors, things like that. And all of a sudden they'd be like, "Oh, this is a much better. Like I really like being tracked this way. It's cool." Like, okay. I mean, it's exactly the same information, but I'm glad you like it. Because people just like small changes that don't like. Small changes that to them make things easier, right? And then they feel that things are improving, and people like to see constant change and improvement. Yeah?
For like LCP, how do you think is the best way to track it? Because I don't like really tracking everything or every step my VP makes, but sometimes I feel like because of that, there's some details that I maybe should know or like some things I should be able to follow up. Like, it's hard for me
That's a really good question. So you're talking about tracking and like how like it's a bigger question is what I'm saying. There's like a big question.
Also, like, for account management, for example, like for other things, yeah, it's bigger.
So you want to create systems so that you don't have to do much tracking, kind of, so that your members sort of track themselves and give you the information very easily, right? So for example, if everyone's using the CRM and there's one meeting a week, then you don't have to do a lot of, you don't have to like go to people and be like, did you do this, did you do this, did you do this, because it's all there and you just know it, right? I think what you want to do is have very clearly your goals. You have a clear KPI for each person, like one ideally that they're supposed to do to reach that goal. So if it's sales meetings, if it's moving the account one step in the process every week, if it's being on time with the matching time, like whatever that thing is that you're measuring to say you're doing well or you're not doing well, you want to know their key activity in, let's say, a week or, every week, like what's their key activity or max key activities, like 2 or 3. And then you want to validate that, I think, with people who work with them occasionally, right? So, for example, you'll want to informally approach their team members or their like co-team members and be like, yeah, I saw they were working on this. Like, seems like they're doing a good job. What do you think, right? It's more informal, right? Because your system, like you guys have probably seen this. Any system you create, eventually people learn how to work around the system, right? So that's why you need to also refresh your system, and that's why you need to learn the stories behind the system, behind the numbers you're seeing. So that's why you have to talk to people sometimes. You're like, yeah, so what's happening there? I saw this, and hear what people say, and from what people say, have a good view of it. It's quite a vague answer, I know, but that's my approach. Is like create high-level systems that are easy for me to track, and then validate things through asking people. There's a small nuance of how to track people here. Which is if you ask someone to check in with you when they're done with something, it's much better than if you check in with them. Because when you check in with someone on whether they've done something, there's an implication that you don't completely trust them, right? But if you just say, yeah, when you're done with that, can you just give me a note, right? Or can you like send me an email once that's done? People usually say yes because you're their team leader, so they're not like, no, I won't, right?
I think the problem with that is sometimes they forget.
Yeah, so then you can just say, you said you would do that and you didn't, right? Yeah, you're just like, you're supposed to remind me. Thanks for doing it. Just next time, send me a reminder, right? It's like it's a way of getting the same accountability, but they're keeping themselves accountable rather than you keeping them accountable and them feeling mistrusted as much. Let's say. Does it make sense? I have a little packet for everybody. Can you take one and pass it? Can you take one and pass it? And can you pass it around the back row? And for now, the top page is important. Actually, I need one. I need one, actually. Can I have one back? I just need one back. So we're just concerned with the first page for now, which is common matching bottlenecks and solutions. So we were in the matching session a little bit ago. So this is this was made by Dasha, who's the MCP of Russia, and she's like super good in GIP. And she, she was responsible for iGIP in Russia last year. She's responsible along with a lot of other people for them growing a lot, and she's doing a fantastic job. And she created this. It has 5 things that go wrong in the matching process, and why they might be going wrong, and what you can do to fix them. Okay? So that's just a tool for you guys to use. Does it make sense? Cool. Then, let's see. Lucas, how do I log in? Maybe you could just give me the password or not? No?
I'm not sure I can do that.
Okay. Trust
Okay.
issues.